What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the GASOCAST episode 20, maybe the most pivotal episode of the year. I'm your host, Michael Timmons. I have Lyndon Cook and Blue Zertucci. Do your wave that you wanted to do. that's what we. Let me do that again. I got Gaso, Blue Zertucci.
It was so unnatural.
What's up, fellas? How do you feel? How do you feel so far? Playoffs.
That
It
was the
feels like
worst thing I've ever seen, Blue.
yeah, feels like playoffs are going by quick. What are y'all's initial thoughts right now?
Go, Lyndon.
Yeah, it feels like the start of the second weekend of March Madness, where this is the last one where we're going to get multiple games and implications and stuff. It's not just like the one-off games that you're having to pay attention to. It feels like there's still a little bit of there's Cinderellas all over the place where you can kind of keep tabs on them. So I'm excited to watch a lot of basketball tonight.
Blue?
Yeah, I think also that it's one of those trying to get over from the game before, and then you have to kind of reset yourself as a fan, as a scout, when watching these games, because there's some really good matchups early, and they're just continuing. Especially like when you had a Thursday game of last week, a Friday, then we got some bonus coverage on for Saturday just because San Antonio was closed down on Friday night. So there's has not been a lack of basketball.
So before we get into the bulk of everything, I mean, we're talking about a ton of stuff. We're talking about taps. We're going through all the regions once again, 5A, 6A. But let's do some housekeeping real quick. Today's episode is sponsored by Clutch Shots. Clutch Shots AI is the first ever smart highlight creator. Whether you're an athlete, proud parent, coach, or organization, Clutch Shots AI makes creating pro quality sports highlights fast, easy, and unforgettable. With cutting edge AI, you can capture, reframe, and share your best moments in seconds, all optimized for social media. Say goodbye to hours of editing and hello to instant eye-catching highlights. Ready to elevate your game? Download the Clutch Shots AI app and revolutionize your highlights with a 2-week free trial. Boy, I almost messed up on that revolutionize word. That took me for a loop. Yeah, Lyndon, tell us a little bit about the Gas So Fast break. Playoff time right now. Our newsletter is on and popping.
Yeah, everything from this round tonight will be recapped in there. Give a little insight into the state tournament. Our staff picks on who will actually win 6A Division I all the way down to 1A Division II will be included in this week. So get our predictions, and it's coverage from every level of basketball. We went in depth on a 1A game last week. We covered a ton of 6A, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A from all over the place. We'll have tap stuff. It's going to be really fun and a lot of information, basketball coverage headed your way this Friday.
Yeah, man. The Gasso Fast Break is literally unbelievable. Lyndon, you do a great job with that. Next, our Gasso schedule is out. Grassroots season is here. Blue, you're starting to get a ton of calls. We have our Next Gen Showcase, which I'll talk about in a second. But on March 15th, we'll have King of the Court kind of discuss that event and just us getting into the Gasso season.
Yeah, it's really something that came about last year. So it's in the middle of March when guys are still kind of forming their teams a little bit. We joke around by a week or two. These players that we saw in mid March will be on other teams, but we're looking to field that this Gasso with about 72 teams and just have a great weekend to kind of tip off a little bit of our season here as we go from Next Gen on March 2nd. A couple of weeks to prepare for the March 15th to 16th King of the Court. And I just think that's always, as we learned last year, that's a really good sample to get notes and evaluations on some of these teams that are preparing for their shoe teams, or whether they're going the gold bracket or they're going to the second tier of Adidas or Puma or wherever they're going to be. It just gives us a really good kind of first look.
Yeah, it gives us a good look. It gives coaches a good look to know who they have on their rosters. A lot of times teams are in training camps and practices, but they know they can come to Gasso and get a really good organized look about what they have. We've seen teams come with 2 teams and big rosters and just let them kind of figure it out. It's almost like they use it as a tryout sometimes too, to say, here's really good competition. Let's see what we have on our roster before April comes, and April will be here just as quick. The Gasso app, 6A Division One, Division Two, and 5A Division One and Two brackets is updated. As soon as games end, like we're all over the place trying to get our app updated. So go to the Great American Shootout app and download that to stay up to date. Um, Very visually appealing and easy to follow. And as always, follow us on social media, X, Instagram. Always putting out content, man. So let's get into it. This is housekeeping, but we've been starting off all GASOCAST talking about the next gen showcase, which is we're in event week, fellas. As we know, like yesterday, our first meeting in event week for the grassroots season kind of ramped this up. But next gen's this Sunday. We're officially sold out. Rosters and schedules will drop Friday, perhaps earlier. Lyndon and I got that started today. It was very fun starting to put these players on rosters because it's a very loaded event. And what we've been doing the last couple of weeks is the next gen player preview, where we all give a player that we're excited to see in that camp setting. So, Blue, I'll kick it off to you. Who's that guy that you're excited to see on Sunday?
Jer- Jeremiah Grigsby from North Mesquite. He's 6'4". He's long. He's rangy. He's able to hit the threes. He gets to the rim. Maybe a little bit low on the as far as his physical number next to his name on the rankings, and he's ready to prove something. As I've heard from a few people that he's ready to come out and really perform at the level that he's capable of, and so I really want to key on him just because of the size and the length and the ability to knock down those shots. Like I said, that Jeremiah should be out there really playing against some of the top competition, and I'm looking forward to it.
Lyndon, we talked about this guy off camera when we were doing our roster build out earlier. Who is this guy for you?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Carson Jones, a 2027 out of Anna. Saw a lot of film on him this season, and I feel like he's kind of leveled up in a way, gotten better, taken a lot of ownership in that team. Played in a really tough 5A district, and he averaged about 11 points a game. And he's a guy that I've kind of circled as this event could be a really nice transition for him, where he had a good season and he's built momentum going into the summer. But I feel like he could kick it off in a big way this upcoming Sunday.
Absolutely. For me, this prospect I expect to see, but if this blemish doesn't go away by Sunday, I might not even show up because that's unbelievable. I shouldn't be having blemishes at my age. But TJ Johnson, 2029, I saw some clips of him with AB Elite, and when we're trying to get an eye on some of these 2029s, but they're not in high school yet, but his poise, his skill, it's so polished. You can see the size and upside and the length. I'm excited to see a 2029 like TJ that can come into this setting and show the skill, show the IQ. It's just going to be, I'm excited because I think it's going to be a really, really joy to see a prospect like that can come in and do some of the things he can do. Because obviously highlights are highlights, but he was looking like a bad boy on the highlights I saw. So I'm excited to see you, TJ. So yeah, playoffs are here, and not just the UIL side. So let's talk some taps real quick. There's a lot of storylines through taps, and I'll get it started just by saying it's so cool with taps because they navigate these playoff brackets, and oftentimes you'll get a lot of the same district matchups. And we've seen it year in, year out. Some of these districts, regardless of who's who, when you get to the taps playoffs and you have to play a district opponent again, it's very, very tricky. So you kind of see these matchups start to form where teams know each other, players know each other. So it's not just teams on cruise control as they head into the bracket. There's a lot of parity in these brackets. But Lyndon, give me a little storyline that you've been looking at in this taps bracket.
Yeah, and we didn't touch on 4A last week, but the by far, there's a lot of talent there as well. But the matchup that I'm looking at is McKinney Christian against Lubbock Christian. McKinney Christian comes in; they're 38-1 this year, which is just mind-boggling to think about, winning 38 games, losing just the one to Argyle Liberty back in December, I believe. Drew Hamilton leads them. Lubbock Christian's interesting. Out west, we don't get to see a ton, but we saw a lot of clips of Harrison Jones, their highly ranked 2027, when we were doing our rankings talk and deciding that initial 2027 rankings drop. So I think it's going to be a really interesting game to take place, and I'll be down there on Saturday to see the winner of this one play for a state championship.
And Blue, I'll follow up because I like what you're about to talk about here. It goes perfectly into my segment. So let me know what you're thinking when you look at the taps brackets.
Yeah, I mean, one of the key ones here is St. Michael's versus San Antonio Antonian. As we look to the past here, them obviously being in the same district also. On January 14th, St. Mike's beat Antonian 77-68. Then on January 31st, it was more of a lopsided win at 92-71 in favor of St. Michael's. But the thing that we need to know about this is that maybe these scores are a little bit deceiving because in both of those matchups, San Antonio Antonian was in the match in both of those games. Even though they lost by 21 points, they were down by 7 at halftime to St. Michael's. The score after the first quarter was like 16-13 St. Michael's, and 14 of those points came inside the paint. So talking to Rudy Bernal of Antonian. He wants to be able to establish that, we got to get our shooters going. We got to be able to limit the turnovers, obviously, and we got to get Ed Onway going. Ed Onway was 1 for 17 in the second matchup against St. Michael's. That's very unlikely that that's going to happen again, no matter what Cooper Land of St. Mike's is going to throw at him. And even talking to Cooper's like, look, even though we won by 21 points in the second matchup, you still had Amari Guerra with like 22 points, 23 points. You had Jamil Garland for Antonian having another 20 plus points. So they are also suspecting that Ed Onway is going to be the X factor this third game because even Cooper knows that, hey, this guy's not going to go for a 1 for 16, 1 for 17 again. And we have to be able to watch out for their balanced attack of shooting and also be able to stop them when they want to slow it down, when Antonio wants to slow it down to get into some sets. So a lot to think about there, but St. Mike's has just been overpowering a lot of teams throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest thing. Like when a team gets to play for the third time, regardless if they split, they're 2-0, they're 0-2. You can always go to the next game saying, "Well, if we just did this, we have a chance." And that sounds like Ed Onway didn't play his best or have his best performance, so they're going in with one of their leaders being like he's gonna, have a chance to really help their case and help Antonio's case. So expect fireworks out of that game. The biggest thing I'll say, there's so much star power in Taps. So Lyndon, I'm jealous of you. There's a chance I might make it down there based off how the girls UIL stuff's going on. Just I have family that are participating in that. But when you look at some of the high level stars, you have Bo Ogden still playing, Nigel Walls at St. Francis, the Mutter twins at Parish Episcopal, Reese Austin at Second Baptist, and Amar Guerrero, you mentioned, Blue, Marcus Zeeley, just to name a few. There's real killers in these brackets down there, and it's all gonna come to a head this weekend. So if you're a fan of basketball, Waco is very centrally located. The Tap State tournament's always high level, and all those schools have big time fan sections and great communities that will have the gyms rocking. So we're gonna have more stuff to talk about in the Fast Break newsletter. But yeah, Taps is on and popping right now. So let's move into UIL 4A. We're gonna do this week in 4A, 5A, and 6A. We're gonna have 3 segments. It's gonna be what we've learned, what we need to find out, and gas them up, which means, hey, what communities and schools need to start putting gas in that car because they're headed to state. So let's start off in 4A. Lyndon, what have you learned so far as the playoff bracket starting to shape up?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we can truly take away from 4A so far is that there's no soft roads. The contenders, no matter what region they're in, they've all been pushed. There's already been upsets, and it's not going to get any easier from here on in. We're going to touch on this a little bit later, but tonight Huffman and Stafford, probably the game of the round. But there's a lot of other contenders for that. Decatur West Plains will be a fun one. Mark, who's the favorite in Region 4, against Pearsall. I think that this 4A bracket has unfolded. It's kind of had a few surprises at some points, but it's setting up for it to have a really nice finale with some really high-end regional final games at the end of this week.
No, absolutely. Blue, what have you learned?
As much as Canyon Randall is away from, Dallas Kimball and Dallas Carter, they're still coming, having to face Brock as they did yesterday, and with a narrow victory of 70-66, and they're still looking forward to possibly playing Crum, who's playing well just all year long, especially lately. And so, talking to Trevor Johnson, the head coach at Randall, I mean, he knows that they're going to have to clean up their mistakes that they've had over the last couple of games, and he's by nowhere. He knows they're nowhere as being perfect, but if they can just get out onto the court and control the tempo and able to limit their mistakes, he said that they're going to continue to win because they have not played at the level that he thinks that they're capable of, and that's pretty scary.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. For me, I've learned that you're gonna have to be special to stop the regional final collision course that is Dallas Kimball and Dallas Carter. Paris and Pine Tree both have that opportunity tonight, but they're going to have to, put up really good performances because it looks like Kimball and Carter are going to. I mean, I think the whole state expects that, but hey, we love the playoffs because anything can happen. But Paris and Pine Tree get that opportunity tonight to stop that collision course. So still in 4A, what is something we need to still find out? And I'll start. So usually when a state contender is battle tested early, they bounce back in a huge way. Stafford ran into a very scary one against Waco La Vega. So what will we see tonight in round 3 is my question. They put up almost 100, if not 100 in round 1. And then in round 2, they got a wake-up call. When a team thinks that they're supposed to be going to the Alamo Dome and they get that wake-up call, you expect them to put the foot on the gas, and round 3 is their opportunity to get back right on track. So I'm looking at Stafford to see what type of Stafford we'll see tonight. Blue, what do we need to find out, man?
Can Yates return to the glory days of a few years back? We were so fortunate to see some of those Yates groups go through the drum in Austin for a state semifinal and final, and now the weight of that team kind of lands on Calvin Murphy III, which I believe can go off for 40 points whenever he wants, and I think that Yates has a clear path to San Antonio. However, they have to get by who Linden has already circled a matchup against Yates and Houston Wheatley. Hopefully that's what we get on Friday. But, Yates is once again, they're as we see a lot, as we have seen often through these playoffs in these brackets, is that there's always a little something missing to give a team like a Yates a good path to get to that regional semifinal and then eventually maybe a state semifinal.
No, absolutely. Lyndon, I
Yeah.
like this one because this is always the question. You could do this what we need to find out for every region, but I mean it makes a lot of sense in this 4A. What do you need to find out still?
Yeah, and that's where is the upset coming from? There's always, it feels like the regional semifinal round. There's always one big dog that falls before people expect them to, and I think we get one from 4A this year. We nearly got it last night with Brock and Canyon Randall as Brock pushed them to double overtime and had a chance to win at the buzzer in regulation, but just missed. But there's a lot of teams out there. Kennedale against North Lamar is a sneaky matchup. Fort Bend Crawford against Houston Booker T. Washington's another one I've kind of circled as upset potential. But yeah, this is something that we could talk about at length in all of these classifications. But these are just some of the games that for me kind of have that a little bit of upset potential to them.
I love it. And then the final, our final segment that we'll be doing is called Gas 'em Up. And this is literally just pick one team that needs to gas up their cars and prepare for a state run. And, the great thing about if you gas your car up now and y'all end up not going to state, hey, you got gas in your car. So, Lyndon, who needs to gas them up, man?
Yeah, I mean, it could be either Yates
No.
or Wheatley. I mean, they might as well all just get gas together. But Wheatley, I was the team I'm going to focus on because they do have the best playoff win so far on their resume. They beat Silsby in one of those like high energy, high intensity. It's a game I wish I could have watched in person instead of on the NFHS stream. They've got to beat Connolly first tonight. But that Wheatley Yates regional final matchup would be, that would be one of the crazier atmospheres I could imagine. It would actually be the 4th time they've played this season. Wheatley won the first one, Yates won the last 2. But Quentin Sanders, Marcon Elder, they've showed me what they're capable of this season. And I think that's reaching the Alamo Dome if they're able to get by Yates in that fourth meeting between these two.
Blue, I don't think you're muted anymore, so hop on in.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Lubbock Estacado. I mean, they're run by Tim Perez, and he's going to want to get penetration. He's a guy that wants to get the ball up the court very quickly, get penetration, kick it out to Shakir Wilburn, who is a big, strong guard who can knock down the three or get to the basket. So, I mean, this is a team that over time, you always looked at them as a team that could make state year after year, and I think that their path is clearing up for them. And though they have a couple of tough games still down the road here, I like what they've shown so far.
Yeah, for me, give me my Celsius Team of the Year, Houston Stafford, I just mentioned earlier, and just tell the Alamo Dome to make sure that those rims are tight because if they show up in there, it'll be a show. But yeah, gas them up. But right now, guess what? Everybody that's playing tonight, gas up those cars because y'all are playing again. So prepare for it. It's a great opportunity. That 4A, it's something to watch tonight. So moving to 5A, we'll start with Region 1. Once again, what we've learned, what we need to find out, and gas them up regional picks. Lyndon, I'll start with you in 5A Region 1. What have you learned so far?
The Chapin looks like the best team in this region. They're dominant. They're hungry. They ended up. I watched a lot of that Amarillo game last week where they ended up winning by 21 in that second round game. I'm not going to pick against them and obviously I could be wrong, but with Jaden Leverett on the inside with their guards and how they're playing off each other, and just having that anchor on both ends in the paint with Leverett, this is a team that is going to be really, really hard to beat in 5AD1.
Yeah, I'll go next. What I've learned is that Mansfield Summit ain't here for style points. It's very rare that you score 37 and you're like, that's pretty good. But it's only pretty good when you hold your opponent to 18, is what they did. They will make these games as ugly as possible with a smile on their face. They have an identity. I thought it was a typo, 37-18, but that's the best
It's a
37.
bad football game.
That's a bad football game. But one of those teams where it's like, they can make it as ugly as possible and still figure out how to get it done. Makes that culture, that identity very hard to play against. So yeah, I've learned that Mansfield Summit style, as ugly as they want to make it, it makes for big time wins. And let's see if they can keep it going. Blue, what have you learned?
I think it's something that we've always talked about over the last few years, even with realignment. You still have District 6 5A with the core of Denton, Argyle, even though they're already out in Birdville and Colleyville Heritage. But right now in this 5A, you have Denton and Birdville looking to meet up on Friday, which would be pretty possibly a pretty epic game within itself. But I mean, Colleyville Heritage is also on the other end of all of that on the small school. The Division 2 of 5A, and so I think that that they have proven that this district is very strong and is going to continue to roll. I think over the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to what we need to find out. I'll start. And once this stream stops going live, and you're watching it at your own time, what I need to find out is this Chapin's year? And all you need to do is just rewind a couple minutes to hear everything Lyndon just said about why Chapin looks hungry and looks dominant. So that's just what I want to find out if this is Chapin's year, because they've been so close in the past. And Jaden Leverett's just one of those handfuls that I think I mentioned a couple GASOCasts ago when I was making my case for them. It's like, how do you deal with that? So yeah, is this Chapin's year is what I need to find out. Lyndon?
Yeah, and there's honestly a fair amount of surprise teams who maybe you wouldn't have picked to still be alive in both sets of the 5A brackets. But the one that I'm going to see if they can keep their run going is Wichita Falls Legacy. This is a school in their first year in existence. They combined and consolidated Old High and Ryder and Hershey to split the enrollment in half in Wichita with two new schools. But they're interesting. They've got some tough pieces, and they'll play Birdville tonight with the trip to the regional championship on the line.
Absolutely. Now let's do our regional pick. Let's gas them up. Lyndon, you mentioned them earlier. You're gonna
Yeah.
keep that going, right? You can't talk all that talk and not pick them.
No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Chapin, until somebody proves me wrong, they will be my pick. Maybe all the way to state. We'll see how far they go. And then in Division Two, I've got to go with Mansfield Summit as well.
Yeah, for me, I'm going Mansfield Summit in Division Two. If you can hold a team to 18 points, and that's a good Argyle team, um, that they held to that. That's just terrifying to know that they can lock in on the defensive side like that. So yeah, give me Mansfield Summit. Blue, you haven't written anything down, so I want to hear.
You're right. I mean, it's kind of
Yeah,
it's Summit. I mean, it's the Edmund Pritchett effect here too as a head coach. I mean, he's been in plenty of these situations throughout his coaching career, has been very successful. So, I mean, getting to this point is nothing new for him or the team, as there have been time after time in this program, just a turnover from one year to the next. I mean, Edmund Pritchett's going to have these guys going. They play their game. They become more efficient. Each and every game here, and especially in the playoffs. I mean, they're just so dangerous. I mean, look what they did the other day. We don't have to explain it again, but I mean, it goes along with, you know what, they take advantage when people miss shots, and they're going to get the ball off the rim and get it up the court and go. And you're going to be playing from behind because you have to catch up to them. They're so fast. They bring a lot of speed and quickness to the court that's how he wants to beat you. And they're even though it might look a little chaotic, guess what? They're disciplined still in what they do because they know exactly how they want to beat you.
yeah. So that'll do it for 5A Region One. Let's go to 5A Region Two, and I'll start this off with what we've learned so far. And I'll say this: that Frisco Heritage can score the ball in any gym. Oftentimes, with high-powered offenses, you wonder how they're going to do in a neutral gym that they never played in. At district time, you're going on the road and you've played there before pretty often. Um, but with Bryson Howard, um, I mean, he's playing at an unbelievable level right now. And then Cameron Lomax, I mean, if you're getting SEC offers midway through the high school season, while high school coaches are or college coaches are in the middle of their conference run, that means you're really balling. So yeah, the fact that I've learned that Frisco Heritage can score the ball in any gym is going to make it hard for me to um, pick against them, I think, down the road. Blue, I like this one for you.
Yeah,
We learned.
just the amount of talent that's distributed throughout this side of the bracket from the very beginning with Austin Gooseby at Melissa. Yeah, sure they didn't advance, but they had to go out there and face a very tough Lufkin team who also has now been eliminated by Dallas Highland Park. We'll get to more on them, but the talent in which distributed on this side, like I just said, I mean, you're talking about high level guys that are in the top 10 that are scattered throughout our entire rankings. And I think that goes along to show you how well these coaches can go out there and take these stars and get them to buy in and play the type of game that's going to win them some ball games here in the playoffs. And it's so valuable as you even get down to the final couple of games. Sometimes the best team with the best player is going to win. And I think that in some cases you can say that's true, and then in other cases you can say, hey, the best team with multiple guys scattered throughout the entire, peppered throughout the entire roster, they're going to have a chance to shut down some people. So it's just been fun, and if you pinpointed this particular side of the bracket, I mean it's very rich with talent.
And this goes perfectly with what you've learned, Lyndon, because some nights you just can't roll the ball and hoop and it doesn't work. So you've learned what?
Yeah, just piggybacking off of Blue's point is that especially in this region, because I've watched a ton of games from the first week of this region's playoffs, is that execution kind of trumps everything else. Um, you know, you can have the perfect set drawn up, you can have the perfect defense drawn up. You got to still go out there and execute if you want to win these games. And a key example of that is Red Oak and WT White in last Friday's area round game where Devin Kirk hits a big shot, forces overtime, and then all of a sudden Red Oak executes their stuff. KJ Bradford hits a huge shot in overtime to give them the lead, and then they're able to kind of take the air out of the ball, make free throws, and they're in the third round. They're in the regional tournament because they out executed WT White in overtime. So there's a lot of games that are going to be decided, but not based on who has the better players, but which team has the game plan more understood by their entire roster and which guys can go out there and like commit to that and do exactly what their coaches are asking of them.
No, absolutely. Before we move on to what we need to find out, I'm curious. Do you think we advocate enough for players and teams that we can start doing a gone fishing segment, or is that too much hate? What do you think, Lyndon? Can we do a gone fishing?
I So except instead of Cancun, instead of Galveston, we're sending them to Lake Texoma.
Like Texoma's crazy. But no, like yeah, it sucks just because we spend all year long advocating for everybody. So like when playoffs come, you see the path for all these teams and players to have big time performances, and when they lose, it's like that kind of sucks. Just because we spent so long getting to know these teams and players in the high school season, that it does suck. But going fishing. All right, Region 2 5A. What do we need to find out? I'll start once again. I just need to find out how epic can this Killeen Ellison versus the Colony game be tonight. It's in West Texas, not too far. I contemplated making that drive down there. It's going to be electric. It just has all the making for an elite high-level matchup game. Both of these teams feel like they have Alamo Dome GPS into their phones and they want to get there. So something's got to give. This isn't soccer. There's not going to be a draw tonight. I'm excited for this one, man. I think this is one of the marquee games across the state, regardless of division. And I'm just curious to see how epic it's going to be. And that's just it for me there. Blue,
Yeah,
what
it's
do you
gonna be
need
a huge game.
Yeah, facts. What do you need to find out, Blue?
Well, I mean, it kind of goes along with what we've learned with the execution matters here, because we're gonna find out if Highland Park can get past West Mesquite tonight. Who is left ahead of on Highland Park's side of the bracket that's going to be able to be disciplined enough to play them. We know that David Peeler, the head coach of Highland Park, he gets those guys. If he wants to play up tempo, he'll play up tempo with you. If he wants to pull it back, he will. And so I think part of their execution is that they're never on the defense. They go in with a certain plan, and I look, and we need to find out, is this going to be their year? We keep bringing this up for so many teams because there's different avenues with the D1, D2 for guys to get to that point that they've fallen short of in the past. And I think, and I not to get into commentary, but I think this is part of the reason why we have this Division 1, Division 2. Anyway, who's going to be disciplined enough on the other side of the bracket? Because, I mean, you do have Frisco Heritage that can play in multiple ways. They got Lomax that can go off anytime. Red Oak, they're very strong, 94 feet type of team that wants to wear you down and beat you. And you know what? They'll take some bad shots, but they'll go and crash the boards. Is that going to be good enough in the future if HP can get by West Mesquite tonight? The discipline aspect of this side of the bracket, if HP wins, that's where it's going to come to a head.
No, absolutely. And to the 400, we have Lyndon. We have 400 people watching live right now. And what you need to find out is this question really quickly. I think we might have got an answer, but let's just make sure.
Yeah, and is this the year that a Frisco school can break through and make it to the state tournament? There's been a lot of recently successful teams. Lone Star's been to the regional finals, if there has been a Frisco team, if it was Frisco High in 1960 in Class B that made it to the state super semifinals or something like that, please let me know. But this could be the year because there's two real contenders, one in each bracket, that could break through. In Division I, obviously, Michael, you already talked about Heritage and how they can score and their dynamic duo of Lomax and Howard that just gets it done game in and game out. Then in Division II, you have Frisco Memorial, Caden Deffabaugh, Xander Krasinski, Steffi, Childers, all those guys. They're a really, really fun team, and I think that they can surprise some people because even though all that attention is going to be on Ellison and the Colony in this round, that matchup that they have against Waco U is going to be one that kind of flies under the radar, and if they can get past them, they're going to give the winner of Ellison and the Colony a really good shot in the regional final round.
Absolutely.
It's crazy to think about, guys. We saw Ruben Nimhard take Keller to the state finals. And here we are with one of the biggest booming areas in the state and also in the Metroplex, especially that there has been nobody. Like you said, I think you said Lone Star and Frisco Memorial are the two that have made it to the regional semis. I'm sorry, the regional finals and come up short.
Mhm.
And then you had a couple of girl teams though that have made it to state. And so I think the guys are hungry to get somebody down there because it's just there's a lot of wealth of talent once again in that area.
Yeah.
I think this is the round also. Like when you talk about some matchups that are going under the radar, off camera, we were talking about the fact that like first round of playoffs, everybody's like, hey, talk about us. What about us? At this round, it's like, hey, we don't care who's talking about us. We got a game to go win because this thing just got super real. You see the bracket starting to shrink, and you're like, if one more win and we're at the regional final, so it's great, and the more you win, the more we got to talk about you. So there's so many underrated matchups across the state tonight that they don't care if anybody's talking about them. The ball's going to be tipping off at 6:30, 7:30, whenever it is, and they're just focused on this game. And it just got real because state's a real, for anybody playing right now, state's a real opportunity right now to get to. So shout out to all the underrated games tonight as well. So let's gas them up for Region 2. Now, when I say gas them up for this one, I honestly don't know where our regional winners are going to be playing. It's not the state. It won't be the state semifinal. Won't be at the Alamo Dome. So
True.
just put plenty of gas. Who knows if you're going to be, but you'll enjoy the ride when you get there. My gas them up regional pick is going to just be Frisco Heritage. I just trust that backcourt right now, just to get it done. And whether it's a bad night, if they can just stay around and hang in there, they got two closers that I feel like in the fourth quarter, if they're down 10, if they're down 15, I trust those guys have a shot. So give me Frisco Heritage. Y'all can go ahead and gas them up. Lyndon?
Yeah, for all the same reasons, echo your pick with Heritage in Division 1. And then Division 2, I'm not going to cop out like Blue did because he's not going to give you a real answer. But I'm going to go with Ellison. They've been there. They've been state runner-up the last 2 years. Third time's a charm. I think JoJo McIver has what it takes to get them over the line, even though they're going up against one of the most talented teams in the state in the Colony tonight.
Blue?
I was gonna give a shout out to Munster, but never mind.
That's crazy.
So here, yeah.
Oh, real quick.
So
no, the reason you say that is because with you and I, we went to Judson. Judson's still playing tonight. Sam went to Duncanville. Duncanville's still playing. Mass went to Highland Park. Highland Park's still playing. And Lyndon,
Munster's already at Texarkana, whatever you call it. I don't even know where that is.
Lake Texoma.
Yeah, we've never been to that lake. But yeah, give us your gas them up regional pick for Region 2, Blue.
Well, I did say the winner. Yes, is it a cop out? I don't know, but I said the winner of the Colony and Colleen Ellison. I think this is once again we're seeing more and more of these types of matchups a little bit earlier than what we expected. But I think that also makes that part of the Division 1 and Division 2s even that more fun to be in every single game of like, among us. Which one are you tuning into tonight? Where are we going? What are we doing? What are we seeing? Let's recap it. I mean, this is why this is a state semifinal game within itself, isn't it? I mean, or at least a regional tournament type game that where it should be a lively crowd and it's going there. Everybody knows on both sides what is at stake here. I mean, Alberto Jones has been down there twice in a row. This is another program that understands what winning does and how to win. And the Colony, they've had their ups and downs throughout the year, but at the end of the day, they're right there going, they're laughing. They're laughing at us and they're proving it on the court.
No, that's facts. I've talked to a couple of them boys over at the Colony, and the problem was we got to see the Colony at some of their lowest points, and that's not the problem, but we cover basketball in Texas at such a high level. I mean, we're going to see when you're struggling. We're not going to, we're not going to wake up and say, oh, the Colony, we're going to watch them now that they're third on the playoffs. We've seen what this process and we've seen what this looks like, but it's also fun to be able to follow them and see them get to where they want to be right now, and that's with a huge game tonight. So Um, we're gonna move into 5A Region 3 off camera. Before Blue was like, is this gonna be like an hour long podcast? And me and Lyndon were like, nah, 35 minutes or so. We'll get in.
30 minutes.
But like when we start to make our notes and stuff on the GASOCAST overview sheet, we type a little bit of stuff, but you can see how excited we are for this playoff bracket because this is going to probably be an hour long podcast. But we love it. Thanks for rocking with us. Close to 500 people watching. We love talking about basketball and this round of the playoffs. Tonight's going to be absolute chaos. So let's move into 5A Region 3 with what we've learned. Lyndon, tip us off.
Yeah, and that's something that we relearn every year of the playoffs. But getting hot at the right time matters. I mean, you look at Barbers Hill; they were up and down in district, and of course with that Beaumont United, Westbrook, PA Memorial, it's a really tough district. But now they get a shot at number one against Fort Bend Marshall tonight. If you look at Pflugerville Weiss, they had to scrape into the playoffs. They were sitting in fifth with like 3 games to go. But here they are; they keep winning. They've won their matchups, and now they get a shot at Beaumont United tonight. Momentum's a dangerous thing this deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, and for me, I'll follow that up with I've learned that a number one team can quietly navigate the bracket with ease, and that's Fort Bend Marshall. Um, you know, Sometimes not being talked about is a great thing, because you just kind of do what you're expected to do, and you just go handle business, and then all of a sudden you wake up in this round. Once again, they're going to have a target on their back, but they've been cruising, and just the way this team kind of plays and operates, I think they kind of like that. They're just like, we're just handling business. We know how to do this. We've won a ton of games this year. We're confident with our style. We're not surprised to be here, and they're just going to keep rolling. So I've learned that a number one team can kind of not be talked about too often in the playoff bracket. Blue, what have you learned?
But Beaumont United is not going anywhere. I think that this was one of those years that where we can go all the way back to September, October, and even early November when we're discussing our team rankings of where does Beaumont United fit in here. And they're young. I mean, they're packed with freshmen and sophomores that are leading this team. We've seen it throughout the year that toughness wins game. Toughness is a skill, and that's what Beaumont United has been blessed with because David Green gets the most out of these kids. And so when you look at what could be another Beaumont and Beaumont Westbrook matchup, I mean, it's both teams are battle tested. Beaumont United have been there a couple more times than Beaumont Westbrook, but everybody's gone from those teams basically, especially with the when Beaumont United is relying a lot on sophomores and freshmen and juniors to carry them through. So it's but still Beaumont United. How far do they go? They could win it all. Who knows?
Yeah, what's so crazy about this region is that, like, Blue, you're what we've learned is Beaumont United, and then you're what we need to find out is Beaumont Westbrook. So elaborate more on that.
Yeah, so Beaumont Westbrook, are they ready to hit that next tier? They've had the roadblock of having to play against Beaumont United for many years to try to get past and try to win a district title. And so, is this the year that they move on to that next tier that we can sit here and go, yeah, they're going to make it to state because they have just steadily put wins together. They have obviously this year, especially, they've been talked about. Terry Satcher has been talked about. There's Elijah Garrett. I mean, there's just a lot of great players on that team that where, what happens if they can get to that next tier and then they have to face, Beaumont United again. Can they move past that?
Yeah, and what I need to find out, I'm gonna hit you with a little Lee Corso, not so fast. The question is, will there be a Beaumont battle? Just because the way this bracket shaped up, it's inevitable not to talk about that. But there are two teams in Austin that are very proud and are ready to play spoiler. I've talked to some of these coaches down there, and they understand the narrative. Houston, tougher. They're going to go in and just kind of out physical these Austin teams and just handle business. But when you look at Eastview with Terry and Benson, and you look at Weiss with Makai Bryant, these are two guys that are like, hey, I dare you to try to come punk me. So I expect these two teams to be in these games, set the tone, and let both Beaumont teams, Beaumont Westbrook and Beaumont United, understand, hey, regardless, y'all are going to feel us tonight. And I expect fireworks in that part of the bracket. So
Yeah,
let's get
before we move on real quick,
okay.
just one thing. I mean, my thing to learn is Beaumont United has won 4 straight regional championships.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Just crazy to think about. But they're going 5. They're 2 wins away from winning 5 straight regional championships, with 2 of those the last 2 years coming in 6A. Just the amount of success they've had in the last few years is insane.
Yeah. Friend of the program, Kellen Buffington, now at Texas Tech, tweeted out or posted, people on social media don't understand how hard winning is. And so when you throw that stat out that Beaumont United's won the regional 4 times in a row, people often are like, oh, yeah, they're dominant out there, which they are. But that Beaumont United team understands what it takes to get there. And it's a lot of hard work and sacrifice, and they don't wake up and do it. That's why, regardless of how districts finished off, you can never count them out, which Blue was saying, is because, once you have a culture like that and they don't take winning for granted, none of these wins are easy, regardless of the score. There's so much hard work, sacrifice, and preparation. So yeah, that stat 4 times in a row of winning the regional is unbelievable, man. So let's gas them up once again. Regional 3. Who knows what the state semifinals are going to be? But get that gas in that car. Lyndon, I want to start with you. I want to start with you, man.
Yeah. After I talked myself into it, I'm going with the U. I talked myself into it. I didn't change an answer. So I'm going with Beaumont United in Division 1, and then I'm going to go out on a limb and take the team that I think has the hot hand in D2 right now, and that is Barbers Hill.
Golly, man, I love it. I saw Barbers Hill, have Allen on the brink of their early loss down at the McDonald's, and they think Barbers Hill knows they should have won that game. So I just feel like they know they can play with anybody, and they have the pieces. I love Barbers Hill so much. Very interesting picks, though. I like that. Blue?
Yeah, the research department keeps feeding Lyndon over their information and facts, and he's changing his answers. But that's okay.
We're watching Lyndon type. We're watching Lyndon type in real time on our rundown sheet. So I didn't know what he was going to pick. So that's a late pick, which sometimes the late pick is the most confident pick because that's going with your real gut. Blue, who needs to gas him up?
I'm going to stick with who I wrote down. So I mean that's Beaumont Westbrook again into Division 1, but I will note they have beaten Beaumont United twice this year. Their only loss in district was to Port Arthur Memorial. So D1, I'm going to stick though with Beaumont Westbrook, and then in Division 2, Fort Bend Marshall. I mean Ian Lowe is out there wanting to get to that next step. Also, it's they've been number 1 for the past 3 years, and they have not made it to state, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Lyndon?
They've lost to Ellis in the last 2 years.
Yeah, so here we are.
Blue's just blowing out. Blue's like, let me try to top the Beaumont United 4 regional final, and being like, Fort Bend Marshall's been number 1 ranked for 3 straight years. Maybe they're number 1 now, but that's a crazy
team. No, they have been number 1 in years past, but they haven't.
So they haven't. Fort Bend Marshall has not been number 2 in any of our rankings in the last 3 years.
At one point or another, they have been ranked number 1.
No, but you said they've been ranked only number 1 for the last 3 years.
They've been ranked number 1. Sorry for I'm not speaking.
I'm playing with you. I'm playing with you.
You don't want to show the audience what happens when arguments start happening. Right?
Well, now I need to find a crazy stat, and I'm gonna look for one really deep. If my eyes start wandering over here,
for 562 straight weeks, Fort Bend Marshall's been number 1.
No facts. I'm telling you on that, Blue. Fort Bend Marshall, I spoke about it earlier. They're just handling their business, and when a team just kind of handles their business, I trust that culture. I trust the interior size they have. I trust the guard play. And then I'm going because I only put 1 on here, but y'all been doing Division 1 and Division 2, and I've been cowarding out and only just picking 1. Give me Beaumont Westbrook just because in the playoffs I love a tone setter, and Elijah Garrett's that dog tone setter that when you got to make a statement early on in the game, I like a guard like that. So give me Beaumont Westbrook. Y'all need to gas him up. All right. Over 500 people rocking with us. We're moving into me and Blues land, Region 4. Region 4 5A.
Shout out to Tim Woodfield.
Yeah, Tim's been crushing content down in Region 4 this year. If y'all haven't followed Gasso Tim, I think he's one of the ones that, I mean, he's still going to like 3 or 4 games a night. I'm like,
Hmm.
goodness gracious. He's already sent us our schedule. He's like, I might be late to this one. I'm like, Tim, you can be late to a few of them the way you're moving around. So let's start. Lyndon, what have we learned about Region 5 4A? Nope, Region
Yeah,
4
and,
5A.
and
Good gosh. Yeah,
you
Woo.
yeah,
got
what are we? 49 minutes? Yeah, I'm over here reading words wrong.
it. Records are never indicative of postseason success, and one example of that that's in this region is Leander Glenn. They're 19-18, but if you look at their schedule, they played a monster pre-district slate. They were playing 6As and some really good 5As from all over the state. One of their few losses, they had a 7-point loss to Beaumont Westbrook. On the schedule, but they're still dancing. And there's a lot of teams that have nice, 4-loss, 5-loss, 30 wins on their records that are sitting at home right now. And one thing that I was just kind of gleaned from looking at their information is that if they can get past McAllen tonight, they'll actually match their longest win streak of the season at 5. So, like I said, records don't matter when it's playoff time, and if you get hot at the right time, who knows what can happen, because they're looking at a chance to advance to the regional finals, and they'll like their chances against McAllen tonight.
Yeah, for me, my senior year we were 36-2, and as a kid, you start to look at that bracket, you start to look who you possibly are going to face. So for a team like Alamo Heights, when they're looking at the bracket, they might not be looking at, oh, we need to win this many games to get to the Alamo Dome. If you're human, and we all are, Alamo Heights was like, hey, there's John Jay sitting right there in front of us, and you get to that game as the underdog, and then you don't realize if you knock that team off, all of a sudden the bracket busts. And I feel like Alamo Heights might be looking in this situation, as some of us are as Gasso staff, as potentially the regional favorite in Division 2 5A down there. So that's how
Oh yeah,
quick it is. If you just play one game at a time and not look too far ahead, you'll be like, oh crap, this thing really has a chance for us, and it might be in our favor. Alamo Heights is playing some of the best basketball. They were in a very battle tested district, and it's starting to really take form. Blue, you want to piggyback off? You learned something about Alamo Heights as well.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know who called the shots there in terms of, I believe then Alamo Heights and John Jay play Saturday. And then here we are on a Monday. Alamo Heights had to drive down to Corpus. So it had to be, I would imagine, without me asking, it was a flip for Monday and then
it's
a
a bad
flip
coin. Sure.
for Maitland. And so what does that show you? Oh, okay, yeah, we'll get on the bus and be right back down there on Monday, no problem. And in watching the game yesterday, and Linda and I both tuned in, is that there's a calmness of Alamo Heights. I think a little bit of I won't call it a swagger. I just think the confidence in which that they play on that court, and that they make the extra pass. They trust each other. Munguia has the ball in his hands, and he's going to go out there and make a play for his team, and that they can get out there and grow a lead, and that they just don't stay in a constant battle of having to fight each and every game, even though they did against John Jay. I mean, this just goes into into the category of, what, we're hot right now. We're going to continue to win, as y'all two have mentioned, and that they're in the driver's seat right now. Not to put pressure on them, but they get an extra day here, and they get to watch their opponent tonight to see what's next for the date, site, and time.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of flips because I've seen a lot of closer to home game situations now. I just feel like you get to this round, teams have a little more swagger. They're like, hey, we'll go anywhere, anytime. We feel really good about our program. And I think fans as well, like the energy at this round starts to build up. They're like, okay, yeah, we'll make that drive because we feel close to the end goal. And you kind of see that with some of these matchups in these locations. What's something we need to find out, Blue, in this region?
Uh, and we've talked heavily about Region 4 and winning a state title, whether that would be Stony Point. Uh, we have focused on Brennan, but what about the other ones that are still out there with Alamo Heights, with Corpus Christi Vets Memorial? I mean, they're still part of Region 4. They're still part of a drought. I mean, and so when These when we have these types of teams like Corpus is what are they like 37-1? I mean they have a chance to finish this out over the next three. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 games. I mean it's still a mountain to climb, but is one of these teams prepared to go the distance and be Region 4 state champions, which we have not said since John Jay. So
Yeah.
there's a lot at stake here, not just for Brennan. I think just for the teams in Region 4, just to win one.
Yeah, currently Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial is asking you to find that one loss that you just mentioned because they are undefeated right now. And that leads
Yes.
me, yeah, they're like,
So
hey, well, find that one.
That's
Find that one, big dog. Find that one. But that leads right into what I need to find out. Is this the round where Corpus Christi vets finally feel some heat? I talked about Houston Stafford earlier. You know, they got that heat, and we'll see what that looks like today in round 3. But for this Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial team that's rolling right now, is this San Antonio Southwest team a type of team that can apply some pressure? I think they can. They have talent over there with Enrique, Trey Martin. They get to a regional final last year, I believe, or no, they lose to Wagner in the regional semifinal.
semis.
Yeah. So they got the guys, they got the senior leadership, and they know they have talent to compete. So I'm curious, is this the round where Veterans Memorial finally feels that heat? Because I don't know if they've been in a close game since I think of the Vipe tournament in Houston, where they had to get some tough wins out there, and that's a long time. We're close to March, so I don't know. You never want to have a tough game, but maybe Corpus Christi Veterans is over there like, hey, we want to feel what it's like with the pressure, but probably not. You just if they can roll, they can roll. But tonight's an opportunity for them to feel some heat. Lyndon, what do you need to find out?
yeah, let me apologize to them as they are undefeated. I apologize. They're 16-0 in district, and they're rolling through the playoffs here. But just to clarify, they lost 3 straight regionals to San Antonio Vets Memorial. How about that?
Correct.
Jeez. Okay. That's another fact that I have no facts this whole episode. I have nothing. Lyndon, what's something new to find out?
Yeah, and kind of with yours, like how do the under the radar teams stack up? And Southwest is that team in the Division 1 bracket where I just think that they haven't gotten the pub for whatever reason, but how do they stack up against the regional favorite in Corpus Christi Vets? And in the Division 2 bracket, that's Liberty Hill. They've kind of flying by night. Nobody's really talked about them, but here they are, one game away from going up against Alamo Heights for the regional title. These are 2 games that I'm going to have my eyes on very closely tonight.
All right, let's gas them up. Who's your regional pick? We have plenty of viewers that are gonna be tired of me saying, I don't know where you're gonna go and drive, but gas up your car. So let's just get into we're almost at 600 people, so I'll spare y'all.
Yeah.
Give me your regional picks, Lyndon.
Yeah, Corpus Christi Vets in Division 1 stays undefeated blue, and then Alamo Heights in Division 2.
I'll go next.
Well,
no, I want to go next just because I want blue to be last for the specific reason that we're all picking the same. Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial for me. I feel like I want the country to understand what type of prospect they're looking at down there with Billy White. I've had a lot of coaches be like, is he for real like that? And I'm like, guys, hey, like he just had a breakout. I think he moved into the top 40 in one of the national rankings, moved into our top 5. And I think there's multiple tiers that he continued to climb. So with a team from, we talk about Region 4, and usually that's San Antonio, that's Austin. But a team like Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial, I feel like they are going to put the state on notice. So give me them. And then also Alamo Heights. You take down John Jay, and if you looked at that game, John Jay makes a huge run. But then Alamo Heights has to make free throws and start scoring with them late, or John Jay could run away with that game. So the fact that I saw Alamo Heights have to dig deep, hold off John Jay, and finish in style. Give me Alamo Heights as another regional pick there. Blue, anything different?
Nothing different here. I mean, but Alamo Heights, Andrew Brewer, the head coach there, might be one of the just calmest guys in general on the sideline, and he's been to a state title. I'm sorry, state semis. Goodness, was about 2016, 2017. I remember Irving MacArthur was there
2019.
too.
Yeah.
2019.
They played Justin Northwest that year.
Another fact.
We'll get the fact checkers on that one real quick.
Another fact.
But yeah, I got nothing different than y'all.
Yeah. All right, let's move into 6A. Shout out to Ryan Mass, who's not on the cast today, but he was like, "Hey, we should wait for 6A," and I'm like, "No, let's start for 6A. We're not gonna have a lot of viewers an hour in." But he was right. I'll take that L. So we're saving the big boys for last. 6A Region 1. I'll start this off with what we've learned, and just by scrolling social media, I've learned that the buzz around this North Crowley Allen game is at an all-time high. Two big-time programs. Once again, I mean, we could pick games all over the place that should be regional finals, teams that could be state guys that have some real smoke and heat tonight, and you can pencil in that North Crowley and Allen game as one of probably the most streamed games probably. And when you're looking at eyes from around the state, people are going to be like, "Hey, by the way, do you know what that score is right now?" That's going to be a lot going on tonight and a lot of star power. So North Crowley Allen, I'm sure I'll be tuned in. Blue, what have you learned so far in 6A Region 1?
I was looking for that Alamo Heights. I need to find out what year it was that they went to state.
It was 2018.
Lake
I was off
Ridge.
by one.
Oh, wait.
Lake Ridge. I'm gonna find it.
It's 2018. Lyndon found it. Lyndon already found
well,
it.
He said 19. How about
I said I was off by one.
That's fine. Okay. Thank you for checking on that because it was driving me crazy. So over here, what did we learn in 6A? Aren't y'all glad I'm back? I mean, I'm 100%. No strep, no headaches, no fever. Okay. So anyway, Lake Ridge, Mansfield Lake Ridge gets to state last year. They lose their top two guards with Amari Rosen, Amir McMillan, and now this program just shows how strong they are with Shakir Pack, Roman Doolin, Abiseo Bakinera. That sounds about right.
Bad dude, one of my favorite guards on that
team. I
mean,
and of course, Wakama, and so they're a program that has a lot of steam and just has a lot of continuity. I mean, they're just continuously winning games. They're winning close games. They're here in the playoffs, eyeing another state run, and talking to Cornelius Mitchell. He's like, "Hey, we'll just see what we can do today. Today's the only game that matters. Nothing ahead of us, nothing behind us. We're going to go out there and try to play basketball." And that was what he told me before we got on the air.
No, for sure. That's a great call there, Lyndon. I love yours right here, just because there's always a politically correct answer. You know, you want to be tunnel vision, but there's a realness to this answer. So, what have you learned so far?
Yeah, and in Division II especially, it's that Geyer and Crowley and their coaching staffs would never admit it, but they had to have one eye on each other throughout the first two rounds. I mean, these two have been consistently the highest ranked teams in Region 1, Division II, in 6A all year long. And these teams, like, even though they played some tough games, Crowley up against Eastwood last week, Geyer surviving against Jesuit in what was a really good game that came down to the wire. But they kind of knew each other would be here if they made it to this round. So who comes out with the win tonight? That's what I'm really interested to see who can be better. Cam McGilvery was that dude last week. Silas has had it going. Lowry's had it going. Copes has been a difference maker on the inside for Geyer. So I'm really interested to see what happens tonight.
Yeah, so I'll kick off this region. Where, like I said, thanks for everybody that's watching right now. Update 600. What we need to find out in 6A Region 1, I'll kick us off. Dudes got to be dudes, and I want to find out which dudes are going to be dudes in 6A Division 2. We're talking about guys like Jordan Lowry, Silas Rodriguez, Kensington Candler, Patton Pinkins, McGilvery. This region is loaded with dudes, and tonight, dudes are going to have to be dudes if they want to advance, because these matchups are loaded, and I'm looking for the stars to be stars, and there's a lot of stars up and down that bracket in 6A Division 2. So we need to find out which dudes are going to be dudes tonight. And I bet you the dudes that are dudes are going to find themselves at the next round. So that's what I want to find out. Blue, am I putting you on the spot because you haven't written anything down, and that sometimes scares me because whatever you're about to say might be crazy.
Well, when you look at the best game, well, both of these games are really great matchups. But I mean, a lot of eyes are going to be on the Allen North Crowley game. There could be, you know what, North Crowley's going to be prepared. Tommy Brackle's going to be ready to go out there. I guarantee you, Tommy Brackle watched about 32 hours of video of film to
Yeah.
get prepared for this game. And so I think anything can happen. Allen's just really deep. Allen is this is what they've been built for. We talked about this a year ago. Even I think we were in Pasadena at the McDonald's Invitational, and what we were talking about, Allen getting to this point. Allen is there, but they're still 1 year away. Like, that's not being disrespectful to them. I think they knew it too, and so they need to get by this Crowley, this North Crowley team, and then it doesn't get any easier. This, I mean, if Luke Susko and Jaden Ramadan have a great game tonight, as they usually do as the pair, and they're a tough Flower Mound team, they're going to face Lake Ridge. I mean, it's just like it's right now. Anything can happen, and there's a still slight difference in some of these matchups compared to other brackets. On the other side of the brackets, that look at the formula here, look at the players, look at the bodies, look at the look what's at stake, look at the coaching, look at the coaching that are going up against each other too. I think that's something that we could do a segment all by itself. But there's a lot of preparation that goes into just one game like this.
Lyndon, is your what we need to find out rhetorical, or are you going to get into your coaching experience back here on yours?
No, it is a little bit because Blue did hit on a lot of the points from this Allen team specifically because they've lost one game. There is one tried and true method to stopping Allen, and that is start Kingston Flemings. That is the one game plan that has worked against them. And you know what? If I could roll out that game plan on all of my teams, then I would be a lot better as a coach and probably not a podcaster right now.
I'm going to stop you for a second. Wait, Linda. I'm going to stop you for a second and lean into your coaching here. How much at this point do you go back and you watch that game against Brennan? Is there something that you're looking for in that game? Do you go back and you watch it, even though it was almost 2 months ago? What is your thinking as a coach here?
I mean, the first thing to see is how they react to, because the one key takeaway from that game specifically is Allen had their dudes and they were able to see how do they match up with the other team's best player, who was guarding him, what are they good at? Is it a big to kind of limit him as a shooter, or is it somebody who's smaller trying to get up in him, be pesky, take the ball away, that kind of thing. How they defend your best player is something that you always have to look at. And then obviously, Kingston's at his own level in this discussion. But that being said, what do they like to do? Allen likes to get up in you and be a very, in passing lanes pressure team. How do you react to that? And how do you coach your guys to prepare for that?
Yeah, I'll follow up on that. I mean, that whole weekend, Allen's been a powerhouse all year long. But you look at the Barbers Hill game and you look at the Brennan game, where possessions late matter. So you can kind of go look and be like, hey, when possessions really, really mattered, what were we doing? What can we do better? They've had the luxury of being able to route some teams this year. So, yeah, that is good film. And that's always what you kind of want to know out with Allen, in my opinion, is when things get tight, they have so many dudes. So who is the dude? And I think they're capable of having multiple dudes. They just haven't been in that position a lot this year to have to be like, hey, take us home, big dog, whoever big dog is. So,
exactly.
But I mean, as a coach, you're looking at the abundance of riches Allen has. You're like, I'll be deep and we'll figure it out as a unit. So, gosh, Allen's they're gonna be tough. Let's gas them up, baby. Let's gas them up. Who are y'all's regional picks? I don't have one. Obviously, you see what I said, Lyndon. Who are your regional picks?
Yeah, Allen's too deep, too talented. The core of this team has been battle tested. This is the year they break through and go back to state. And then I've got Geyer edging out Crowley in D2.
Blue.
Yeah, same thing. Allen and then Geyer. I think that Grant Long of Geyer, he's been waiting for this type of moment here. I mean, I've had a conversation with him a few weeks back, and I mean, it's some coaches really, and he was one of them that kind of studied a little bit of the playoffs and what could happen and what was going to be in their in their in front of them to and who they might be playing, and so he really is prepared. And I think that this is Geyer, even though they've had so many great players in the past. This is the team that I think that could get over this hump right here.
Yeah. Gosh, I literally have I don't know. I'm gonna make a last second pick. I do like Geyer. I think a kid like Silas Rodriguez continues to just play at the level and continue to up his level. I mean, his shot making ability is unbelievable right now, and he's in that zone. Um, so yeah, give me Geyer and give me Mansfield Lake Ridge. Um, I just they're deep, they're tough also, and if you're talking about a potential collision course with Allen, um, I just like Mansfield and how Lake Ridge and how tough they are. Their identity there. Um, they just continue to get it done. So yeah, give me Mansfield Lake Ridge. All right, Region 2, 6A. I'll start this off with what we've learned. And I've learned that Duncanville remembered last year's playoffs. They're locked in. Last round, they didn't get their lick back against Wiley East, but they took out Wiley. So they're like, hey, with the name, we knocked them off. Wiley East took out Duncanville last year, so they beat Wiley. But Caden Edwards, you have that senior, and I did a kicking it courtside with Caden, and just the history and being a part of that program, it feels like he's had what is it? A microscope under his career, just playing with so many high level dudes, going back to Ron Holland, Anthony Black. It's his show now. He's the senior. He's leading him into battle. Um, but in the last couple, like the last month or so, Deuce Hunt's been playing at an unbelievable level. I mean, I think that gives them some real upside. His shot making and spacing, especially with one of the best point guards in the state in Beckham Black, being able to find everybody and run the show there. Duncanville's just locked in, and I want to know if they remembered about last year's playoff run that got ended very quickly, and they have. So, Lyndon, what have you learned?
Yeah, it's kind of happening right in front of us, and that's Rockwall is evolving as a program. They're starting to turn into one of these programs that teams don't want to see in the playoffs. Regional finals last year, they're back in the semis with a great chance to advance to the regional finals again. And with Hudson Geldner healthy, with Mason Shepard and these guys, I think they've got a really good chance to be in that regional finals game. We'll see what happens on Friday if that comes to pass. But the evolution and the steps they've taken as a program to kind of cement themselves as one of the premier DFW 6A powerhouses is one thing that I've really kind of taken away from this year in the playoffs so far.
Blue, real.
Well,
Let's hear what you have to
it's
say.
it's easy to it's easy to pick like the Duncanville portion of all of this of what we've learned because they are battle tested, even just in their district alone. Even though that they're always consistently playing top level competition outside of district play, but one thing I learned is that someone like Trey Lewis can carry a team at Conroe, hit big shots, score in bunches, and I think even as Grand Oaks faces Duncanville tonight. Duncanville still has to go and stop him. And the one thing I can say about Trey is that he's always out there. He's always looks like he's having fun. Even though he'll take a wacky shot, it goes in and he's just smiling. He's just playing basketball. And sometimes when you're playing that loose, you're going to be able to translate that into winning. And I mean, it's going to be a big task for them to beat Duncanville, but that's one thing I have learned when players are hot and that they have consistently scored and they're always on a team that okay, this we got to go stop Trey Lewis. Sometimes you can't. You got to go stop the other four in order to win a basketball game. So kind of interested also to see how Duncanville is going to play that matchup and not allowing one player beat them because it happened last year, did it not, with Parker at Wiley East?
Yeah,
Yeah, one player got him.
yeah. All right. What do we need? I'm seeing. Hold on. I'm seeing in real time. I'm seeing real time
Is
what
that
typing. I'm just curious. Okay. What do we need to find out in this region? I'll start. We need to find out Clean Shoemaker's gift to the region before they were knocked out was their big win over Lancaster. And Clean Shoemaker's out, but what they left was a gift of leaving this bracket wide open. So who's going to take advantage of that? So like you got teams right now like Wiley East, the Woodlands College Park, Mesquite Horn, and Willis. Realistically, guys, um, none of those four were on anybody's lists to be state semifinalists. Realistically, besides maybe them internally, which is the goal. So there's a gift that's been left because Lancaster was the favorite in this region. I think we all would have penciled them in as the favorite. But now this thing's wide open. And once we talk about earlier on, it doesn't matter if we're talking about you or not. This round is the closest thing that these teams have felt like, oh my goodness, this bracket's almost to here. Like, we're close, fellas. Let's get this win tonight and look where we're at. And I think this might be the most wide open region. And who's going to take advantage of it, man? And I'm curious about that. Lyndon, what do you need to find out?
Yeah, and just echoing your point,
Yeah.
because it is the most wide open region. I
Yeah.
mean, all of these teams, they're good at what they do. The Wiley East College Park game is going to be very interesting. Parker Overstreet in the playoffs last year kind of proved what kind of gamer he is
Hold on.
in the postseason.
Hold on. Sorry.
Better now?
Yeah. Did y'all? My phone was being called. Did y'all not hear that? It wasn't coming through on that.
No.
It
Oh,
kind of
okay.
froze up a little bit, but
Okay, yeah, my phone. I
that
didn't
was
want
it.
to. Yeah, my phone was ringing on my computer. So no,
All
back
good.
into it. My bad. I wanted Wiley's to get their due in this part. So my bad.
Yeah, and I think that they can. I watched that Shoemaker game, and they were hitting shots like crazy in the first half, had to kind of salt it away at the end, but they've got a guard who's capable of getting them over the line in these tight games with Overstreet. College Park that Blue's going to hit on. S.J. Young at Willis, if you haven't seen him, he may be the player that you need to watch the most in this quadrant of four because he has been on a tear lately. And then Mesquite Horn just continues to tough out wins. I mean, outlasted Tyler Legacy. It was not a pretty game, but they don't care. They got the win. That's their MO this year. And if they can play two more games exactly like that, they're going to be at the state tournament or the state semifinals or whatever we're calling it now.
Blue, what do you need to find out in this region?
The Woodlands College Park, I think that we have over the past several years waited for this team to really hit their stride and go. I think that they were pretty close last year. They were one of the best teams in the state consistently last year. I remember always having them that we're always moving them up. And I mean, can Ian Enman, Aiden Buckman, Tyson Force. Tyson Force is a sophomore that has the ball in his hands to distribute and get things going. And Evan Mason inside. Clifton McNeely is such a great coach. He's been coaching for sorry if I say nearly 30 years. I know it's at least 25 plus because that's when I first met him anyway. So I mean, it's kind of one of those things that when a guy that's been there for so long and you're ready for also them to be able to step on the sideline and kind of take it all in and in this case being San Antonio at the Dome, can his players get him there?
No, absolutely. An hour 18 in. Houston, what's up? We're here. We're here, Region 3 6A. If you've been on waiting for us, we're here now. So let's get into what we've learned about this region, 6A Region 3. I'll start. And this kind of goes for all teams in all regions. When your stars play consistently, it just opens up so much for the rest of the team to play more freely. And I'm looking down at Houston Bel Air with Sheldon Henderson. He set the tone. There's a reason we talk about it's easy. There's a reason why Duke came to get Sheldon Henderson because he does so many things that impact winning. And he set the tone for guys like J.D. Williams and Coleman Dutton to be in go mode. I mean, Lyndon, you've watched some of their playoff games and you see the confidence there. And when those two get hot and going, this Bel Air team is a force. So just seeing Sheldon Henderson just do what he does. I mean, he's going to go down with one of the best players, obviously, in the state. But just he's doing what stars need to do to get wins, and that benefits the whole team. So I've learned that. Lyndon, what have you learned?
Yeah, looking at the D2, I mean, the favorites in this region have delivered. I mean, Shadow Creek is doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They've got it rolling. Jordan playing a little low scoring, especially with their last game, but they're navigating their way past a bunch of good teams. CE King's been impressive. George Ranch, kind of an under the radar team, but they were one of the teams that you kind of expected to be here in this round. This is one of the best regional tournament groupings in 6A, and I'm excited to see what comes out of this one.
Yeah, Blue, what have you learned?
Tascasita is simply a Tascasita. I mean, David Martinez and what he's done with that program. When you look at their lineup of Adam Boyd, Jalen Finner, Jakai Cantave, and then the big winner so far of the playoffs is Zayson Salona that has just been able to go. Yeah, Salanoa being able to go out there and just knock down shots after shot. And I mean, just 2 games ago, he goes and knocks down 5 in the first half. Another game he's had
first
3.
Half he had 8.
God dang.
First half, so he had 5 in the first quarter, I believe. Then came back with 3. Another game, this past game, he starts off with 3 threes, and I mean, he's just feeling it. And I mean, they're going to continue to feed him. David Martinez knows exactly how he's going to play and how he's going to use the hot hand. And you just can't guard him. You push him out further, he's just going to continue to catch and shoot. And that is a pretty stroke right there from about NBA range and beyond sometimes.
Yeah, it's great because at our GASO fall tour in Houston in the fall, we had a Tascasita versus Legacy, I believe. And Zayson's ability to shoot in transition, like right there, you look at what that upside looks like when you have the Adam Boyds, the Jalen Fenners. When you have a guy like Zayson that can fill it up like that, I'm like, oh, that's the upside that they need. And then fast forward to tonight, you're like, okay, obviously a Tascasita is a Tascasita, but you can start to see the picture being painted of them making a further run than just tonight. So when you're talking about where you want to play in the fall, this is a shameless plug, but GASO Fall Tour, there's a lot of big time matchups that we see then that kind of paint the picture of what we are going to watch tonight. So let's see, what do we need to find out about 6A Region 3? I'll start because this is very quick. I don't have much other than the question of, can Shadow Creek be stopped? I'll leave it at that. I don't know. I simply don't know. Shadow Creek is one of the most impressive teams I've seen live this year. And I just simply don't know if they can be stopped. And Lyndon, you made great points for the rest of that side of the bracket. But my question stands. Can Shadow Creek be stopped? I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll just move on very quickly from that. That's all I got there. Lyndon, what do you need to find out about this region?
Yeah, honestly, not even like implications wise. I want to know which one of these games is going to be the best matchup tonight. Because if you look at all 4 of these games in 6A Region 3, Atascocita, 7 Lakes, that's 2 teams that live at the regional tournament. Bel Air and Summer Creek. I mean, if you're going pound for pound with talent, I mean, those are 2 of the most talented teams in Greater Houston. Down to D2 with Jordan and CE King, the contrast of styles that's going to be has a very fun basketball watch written all over it. And then George Ranch and Shadow Creek, we do get to see, can George Ranch be the team that actually stops Shadow Creek from what seems like a march at this point to the Division II Region 3 title?
No, absolutely. Blue, what do you need to find out?
And Summer Creek, they finished 3rd in their district, which they were behind Tascasita and CE King, and so Daniel Thomas has just really done a great job with this group here in a very quick way. And so how far can they get? I mean, are they going to get past Houston Bel Air? Which Houston Bel Air, we know that they playing on another level than I think that they even have over the last couple of years because of the guard play of Sheldon, and so there's just it's just one of those things that where you look into the playoff bracket and see someone like Summer Creek where they had lost some games. You thought there was a bumpy road for them, and here they are a step away from having to face one of their foes if they can get to Friday night.
Absolutely. All right, let's gas them up. 6A Region 3. Lyndon, who are your regional picks?
Yeah, I'm going with the Atascocita and then Shadow Creek. I just feel like they've been the most consistent, and consistency plays a big part into how I pick these kind of things.
Blue?
Atascocita, there's a David Martinez factor there that he's one of the best coaches, period, in the state of Texas. Shadow Creek, how many times have we said year after year they start off as a top 10 team, top five? And this, we probably thought 2 or 3 years ago that was going to be David President's best team. And then the year after, oh, this is his best team. But I think we're actually living in it and watching it unfold in front of us.
Give me Shadow Creek. And what's up, Houston Bel Air?
Pick 'em.
Give me Houston Bel Air. I saw Houston Bel Air early this season, and then Shelton Henderson missed some games, which allowed some of their guys on that team to turn into dudes and create their own identities. JD Williams, bad dude. LJ Andrews was huge when I saw him this year. I feel like this team has worked and clawed their way all the way to this moment. They're fully healthy, and they all have identities that will allow them to make it happen this year. And yeah, give me Houston Bel Air. And don't get me wrong, it's hard for me to also not join y'all with Atascocita, but there's a Duke Blue Devil over there that wants every part of everything that's going on right now. So, all right, 727 people. We're almost an hour and 30 minutes in. Blue, you don't have to go pick up your kids from school or anything. I mean, you straight?
No, I got the window open looking for them to rush in here from the bus, man, getting ready, get all juiced up to go play some mini hoop and
All
kick
right.
the soccer ball. Let's go.
My dog's over here looking at me and he's like, this has been a long podcast, but hey, Region 4, we're here. 6A Region 4. I don't know if we've been this loud about this region in a long time when you're talking about what could be coming out of here. So let's get it started. Lyndon, what have you learned about this region so far?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a team that we've always talked about as one of the most talented down here, and that's Harlan. And I think that they're different. They've kind of proven that they're different from years past, especially with their playoffs. You know, they go down early to Vandergrift, who kind of jumps out on them, hits them in the mouth. But they, kind of buckle down, dig in, get themselves a foothold in that game. And then KJ Williams comes up with 20 points, and here they are still dancing. And I think that kind of, they're starting to change the narrative as a team who can win games with toughness and not just the top end talent that they've had in the last couple of years. But they're a team that's going to be very dangerous in that 6A Division II bracket that's still left.
Yeah, for me, I've learned that this split this year benefits a lot of teams in a lot of different ways. I think till Lyndon finally corrected me all year long because I wasn't paying attention to how this thing worked. I'm like, it's the Brennan Stony Point collision course. Of course it's going to happen. He's like, hey, they're going to probably be in different divisions. So as much as I know Brennan wants their get back on Stony Point after last year's game-winning bucket, I think both teams, once you realize that's not a real thing and can't happen, I think both of those teams are like, hey, at least we don't have to see them and they can go focus on it. But Stony Point, I've learned, is not new to this. You lose Josiah Mosley, who's at Villanova. Looking like a force there as well. When you lose him, you're like, okay, that's a huge loss, but their culture and the way Landon Short and Uzziah Button are playing right now, I watched them get on Dripping Springs' butt in the first round of the playoffs and get up to like 16-0 or something like that and set the tone from there. In a bye-district game, they knew they were probably going to win. They know what it takes. They want every part of this moment. And Blue, you've learned also that you're going to follow me up on some commentary of Stony Point. What have you learned?
Yeah. The first two games, Stony Point, Round Rock Stony Point has won each game, I believe, by 28 points. So now they're going to face Judson tonight, which they're probably more athletic than what they've faced, and also along with a little bit more balance. And even Antoine Thompson, head coach at Stony Point, told me, hey, we can't do is going to be ready to come in here on Tuesday night. And the things that Antoine's emphasizing here is just obviously to stay focused, but to know that the details, emphasizing the details of each and every practice or athletic career that they have in order to, sharpen their skill. And he knows that it's coming out, and he's explained to the kids, hey, this is coming at us pretty fast here. I mean, there's been some turnaround time here over the weekend to Tuesday that they've had to prepare for their next opponent. And he just said that he tries to keep everything well balanced. Even the scout team, he's trying to teach the scout team, you're so important to this program. Go out there and give it all you got to us when we're out here to imitate a little bit about what we might see. But he's looking to take away one thing from his opponent, and then work off of that throughout the entire game. Let's take away the offensive, if it is to take away the offensive boards, and then to take away maybe their best player. So he's out there. He has established himself as one of the best coaches to when it comes to scouting and to prepping and to really getting into the weeds of what needs to get done to get to that next level. And yeah, because we did touch on that for just a second of like, hey, we thought everything was going to be, traditionally you're going to go see probably Brennan again. But you know what? He's like, hey, that didn't happen. We got to focus on what we have here if we're going to win the big game in March. It doesn't matter who we're going to play. We still have to play, and we still have to prepare for that team.
No, absolutely. Lyndon, what do we still need to find out about 6A Region 4?
Yeah, there's a lot of things with that. I mean, it's going to be, for the one that I'm looking at is who can give Brennan the best test. Tonight, Brennan draws up against East Central, I believe. Yeah, San Antonio East Central tonight. Are they going to be able to slow them down? Because Brennan looks like a machine right now, and you're going to hit on that a lot with your talking point. But the winner of Steele and Johnson is going to get their crack at it in the regional final round, and we've seen it at the Gasso Fall Tour in a very high-intensity game that Steele gave them a half of a really, really good high-intensity game where they had the lead, and then Brennan turned it on. Can Johnson, get their crack at it? Who knows? It's going to be very interesting to see, but this is Brennan's region to win, and I think that's something we've covered extensively to this point, but there's still 3 teams out there who are thinking, you know what, nobody believes in us, but we're going to give them everything we have in order to upset their run back to the Alamo Dome.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you're playing tonight, who cares what anybody's saying? You got it right in front of you. You still control your own destiny. But for me, it would be unfair. Brennan, Region 4, our number 1 team in the state. We can all talk about Brennan, so I will. But what I need to find out is, Brennan, are y'all okay? Y'all are acting really even more unusual than just being the number 1 team in the state. All podcast long, I haven't had a stat, but here we go. Brennan's averaging 95 points per game in the playoffs. And they just hung 100 on Lake Travis. And I know that those kids down there are like, we want to hold every team we play to under 40 points. It was either 30 or 40. Well, Lake Travis scored 70. So Brennan was like, okay, we're going to then go get 100 points. So with all this, they just continue to be so undeniable. Then you see Kingston Fleming's dunk, in which somebody with a video guy like me, when the windmill he did, I mean, if I'm like, oh, what is that? Then I know it's different because I don't get too impressed by stuff like that. But it's very unusual how they're acting down there. And we talked about Fort Bend Marshall earlier, just going and doing their thing as the number 1 team. Well, Brennan's being really, really loud every time they go out, and they continue to do so. But once again, East Central's there in a tough district, hot basketball right now, and they're here and they want this moment. So we'll see what happens tonight. Lynn or Blue, what do you need to find out about this?
I was just going to say, there's not much to add here. I mean, you can look at the scores of putting up 100 points, putting up 91 points for Brennan over the last 2 games, and when you go look at their score, just like Ellison, Colleen Ellison of 5A in Division II, that's going to be facing the Colony. They're a well-rested team. Brennan is. Those legs are still fresh. I mean, they're having their starters play most of the game, but they're sitting also for long periods of time on that sideline. And so I think it does pay a huge dividends in the positive side of things for Brennan that they're able to take a little bit of breather. But this is also why they leave San Antonio in November and December, and to get that the work in and to face some of the better competition, because like Lyndon says, somebody is on this playoff here going, okay, we're the one, and Brennan is going to get what's left, the best of San Antonio, to try to stop them. And can it be done? Goodness, if it's done just like this in a turn just a flip of a coin, I would be shocked at this point.
Absolutely. Let's gas them up. Are we all unanimous here?
Yeah.
Pick Judson Blue.
This is.
Are you picking?
Yeah, no. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Noe.
Yeah, I think we're all going.
So
we're all going Brennan Stony Point. I think, yeah.
Yep.
It's gonna be, yeah. I mean, you put spot there, Munster, but it's going to be a tough task for Judson tonight. Maybe they can do it.
So we started the episode. I mean, seems like damn near 2 hours ago at this point. We talked Taps. Taps is going to be on and popping this week. We ran through the brackets. If you're watching this on the bus heading to your game, or you're getting ready, depending on where you're going, just know if you're playing tonight, you have a shot. And with that shot, as a player, leave it out on the court, regardless of who's who, what team you're playing against, whatever. Leave it out on the court tonight, man. Texas high school basketball playoffs, there's nothing like it. And tonight's a huge night across the state. And just live in that moment. Fans traveling, be safe. It's a great time because everybody has a chance right now, regardless of us three knuckleheads picking, gas them up and all this stuff. Everybody has a chance tonight. And I'm just excited to see tomorrow morning when we wake up what this thing's going to look at, because you're one game closer to state. All the hard work you put in, tonight's a big night for everybody. So on behalf of Blue, Lyndon, Mike, we're excited. We're going to get off, reset, get ready to watch some high-level basketball, and we'll see y'all very, very soon. Later.